The 5-0 Podcast.
5-0 Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the 5-0 Podcast. I'm so excited. Today we are here with Kaitlin, aka the Band-Aid Slinger. The real Kaitlin is an active EMT, a medic student, model, delegate for Miss Missouri, and a paramedic student, a mother, and stays devoted on dedicating time and energy to serving her community. So for our listeners who don't know who you are, before we peel back all the layers about you, if you don't mind just giving a quick bio, just, your name and where you're from and who you are, and then we'll peel back the layers.
Well, my name is Kaitlin. I am from a rural town outside of Kansas City, Missouri. I work EMS out here. I'm a mom to 3 kids and a paramedic student. That's basically my life right now. So,
yeah, being a first responder and having kids is like, we're going to get into it, but I give you so many props. And where are you from, you said?
It's called Butler, Missouri. It's
okay, because I know Missouri, but
basically anytime I have to say it, it's outside of Kansas City. So
okay.
Yeah, everyone knows where Kansas City is. So
are you a Chiefs fan?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So that's what I think of. That's probably why you say Kansas City, because the only thing I know is the Chiefs, and that's how I know what Kansas City is. So, but I would never know where you said you're from. But I love that you're from a small town, because I love having people on from big cities, small towns. We got to get the mix in. We got to have everybody. So we're going to go over your foundation in the medical field, who you are, how you got here, and then get a little deeper. So I like to ask everyone that comes on my pod this same question, just because I like to know how you ended up where you ended up. Just tell us about your family life and growing up. What was it like? Did you have a lot of siblings? Tell us about your mom and dad.
So, growing up, it kind of lived in a weird household. My dad left whenever my mom was 8 months pregnant with me, so I did not meet him until later in life. So my mom took care of myself and my sister, who was 3 at the time that my dad left. So being raised by a single mom, and then she got married to my stepdad, and so I have a brother and an older sister. And my mom and stepdad raised us for a little bit. He ended up leaving the picture, and then I went back to single mom with 3 jobs raising us whenever we were kids. Honestly, like, that's where a lot of my work ethic comes from, is watching my mom growing up. Yeah, watching my mom bust ass whenever we were growing up by, making sure that we had everything we didn't want for anything. We had everything that we needed, and she always made sure of it. So, super respective, like, quality of my mom, just always making sure that we were taken care of. But whenever I graduated high school, I never saw myself getting into EMS, honestly. Like, I used to pass out at the sight of blood. Do what?
Sorry, go ahead.
I used to pass out at the sight of blood. So I never saw myself getting into EMS. It terrified me. I wanted to go into the medical field at some capacity. I wasn't really sure, but EMS, absolutely not. I don't want to see, mangled people. I don't want to see gore and nastiness. And so I was going to go to college, but then I ended up getting pregnant with my son, and I became a medical assistant. And so I did that for a couple years, and then the pandemic hit, and then I decided to go to EMT school. But that what drew me to EMT school was almost like divine intervention, though. In my opinion, it was, I remember going to a community health fair with my grandma whenever I was little, and I saw, like, the vials of blood that they drew to, like, do people's labs and stuff while they were there. And I went to the bathroom and I passed out, and I had
Oh my gosh.
Yes, from seeing vials of blood. And so I went from that to, I've been an EMT for about 4 years now. I'm a field training officer and I'm in paramedic school. Um,
Also,
yes, for sure. So I started out, as a medical assistant, and I feel like I was around for a lot of weird emergencies, like car wrecks on the side of the highway kept happening, and like I was just there. Old ladies passing out at the mall, and I was just there to catch them.
wow.
Yeah, and patients in clinic, they would have these weird medical emergencies, and it was so exciting for me. Like, of course, it wasn't a good day for the patient, but to watch the ambulance crew like come in and be the like sigh of relief for everybody, like, oh, thank God you're here. You're the ones that are supposed to take care of this. I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Right.
And
No,
so
it's true. You're like the saving grace when you show up.
yeah.
It's like everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, your people, like, you can see people like their shoulders go from, like up towards their ears to where they finally like, oh my gosh, thank goodness you're here. And so I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I like this chaos. I feel like a prerequisite is you have to have a little bit of the ADHD to do the job too. Like, it's just chaos and I love it. But decided, okay, well, I've been put in all of these situations where like I've seen all of these different emergencies. I've seen, and I feel helpless. Like, I want to be the person that helps. And so I feel like that was like my divine intervention of, hey, this is what you're supposed to do. And so I went to EMT school and I fell in love with it. So,
And you were able to see blood now.
yes,
Like nothing.
yes. Yeah, I'm able to see blood and not freak out. There's certain icks. Everybody has their icks.
Everybody has them.
Yeah, kneecaps. I don't know. A dislocated kneecap, like whenever their patella is like up in their thigh, or it's like just that's what roasts me out the most in my career is a dislocated kneecap.
I don't so weird. I'm gonna have to Google it now.
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't like it.
Well, my next question was what inspired you to become an EMT, but it sounds like there was a lot of factors that inspired you, but it's cool that you say divine intervention because I kind of feel like a lot of my story and a lot of people's stories are the same. It's like this one instance made me want to do this, or these certain things kept happening and I thought like I wanted to be that too. So when you decided to like apply for the medical field, to like get into the medical field, how did your like friends and family feel about that? Were they supportive? Were they shocked? What did they say?
So whenever I became a medical assistant, like I was working in the clinics, it was all just it was very monotonous. Like you check patients in, you check patients out. It was the same thing day to day. My mom's a nurse. And so I was actually working at the same clinic as my mom. And one day I told her, I was just like, hey, I feel like this is something that I'm really interested in. And I'm looking at this EMT program. Like, what do you think? And my mom was really supportive. She told me to go for it as long as it was something that she, that I knew that I could handle. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I can, but I'll figure that out. Because I was still the terrified person that I'm like, my heart would absolutely race. Like every time that like a call for like a car wreck or anything would come out, I'm like, oh my God, this is it. I'm going to pass out on this call like I did whenever I was a kid. It has not happened, but I mean,
it's like thriving off the chaos.
Yeah, you get used to it. And then you see gross stuff and I'm like, haha, okay, what are we eating for lunch now?
Yep. It's nice to hear you say that because I'm sure some of our listeners feel the same, or like they're, oh, I'd be too scared or this and that, but you can overcome it. And you can be whatever you want to be. You just gotta kind of keep doing it to kind of get over it and see it more. And
yeah, it's definitely something like I always tell people if you're thinking about doing this, like I did ride-alongs before I ever went to EMT school. Go do ride-alongs and see, what kind of like dip your toe in to where you're not obligated to take care of that patient, but you can view and like, I don't know, see at your own risk, basically. Just kind of preview. But yeah, you can definitely get over it. I did it. I feel like I did it because it terrified me. You know, it's just one of those things that, like, I'm gonna overcome this. I feel like this is what I'm being called to do. I'm going to, I'm gonna get over the butterflies in my stomach, and I'm gonna be able to actually help people because I have the compassion for it. And so,
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. So in the medical field, you said, you worked in the ambulance, right?
Mhm.
And then you've worked in like hospitals and you've done clinics and all that. What's been your favorite experience or role in all of the roles that you've had thus far in this field?
I would say probably my favorite would be whenever I deployed for Hurricane Ida. I went down to Louisiana and working like kind of disaster relief. It was very humbling, and watching a state and a community really come together after like a disaster like that. These people, I mean, they would ask me where I was from, like my patients that I would take care of, and I would say, "Oh, I'm coming from Kansas City." And they were just so thankful. They're like, "Thank you for coming here. Thank you for helping us." And I feel like I made a really lot of great connections through that and a lot of really memorable experiences just because of, seeing a different side of humanity than working a regular ground ambulance every day. There was nobody that, you know, calls for toe pain at 2 a.m. type thing. It was
Yeah.
just it was,
Right.
like I just lost my home and everything in it, and I'm in a shelter, and these people are just, all so grateful that you're there. And that was probably one of the best experiences that I've had.
I can imagine. I almost got deployed too. I'm in Florida, and I was like nervous because I just moved to Florida, so I've never experienced like a hurricane or anything like that before. But I can only imagine that helping people that have lost everything is like you said, so eye-opening. And the fact that you were someone that, like you said earlier, like made them feel at peace in such a scary, terrible time is probably so rewarding.
Yeah, because that's half of it is, most of the time, patients just need someone who cares.
Yeah.
Make eye contact with them, like depending on, read their body language. Don't just be rub it up on people, but like hold their hand, just make sure that they know that you are there for them. You have their attention, and, you're not focused on other things. And that means a lot to people.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, as a female, you're in pretty male dominated field.
Yeah.
Have you personally faced any struggles being like a female? Have you felt underestimated, or have you been pretty smooth sailing? How's it been for you?
I would say personally, there's been some things I feel like there's things that I have to do differently than my coworkers. Like I know that I have physical limitations. Like I am 100 pounds. I know that I don't have the muscle mass that my male coworkers have, to where I'm not going to hurt myself, or I'm not going to hurt a patient by overestimating what I can do, to where I know my limits, but I also don't use it as a crutch. Like, oh, little little girl's just going to stand in the corner while everybody else does the work. No. I'm going to try to still get in there as much as possible. Like hold a leg, something. I don't know. Find some way to be useful. But another thing would be being a female in the EMS environment. We work in very close quarters. Like I work a 48-hour service, so we're on for 48 hours straight, and then we're off for 96. So right now I'm hospital based, to where we're not like always alone with our partner. We have like a full crew, but I've worked at places where you're literally at a station, which is a house with just you and your partner, for the duration of your shift. And usually, like in a male dominant field, I was, gosh, how old was I whenever I first started doing this? I was like late teens, early 20s whenever I started doing this. And so I feel like I had a lot of maturing to do. I had a lot to learn about the world. I felt really gullible in a sense, just kind of naive to some things. But I am the most naive person whenever it comes to like guys flirting with me or anything. I Unless you tell me like I am flirting with you, I will have no idea. Like it will go whoof right over my head. Um, so where I learned that a lot of the times whenever I have a new partner or I meet a man in this profession, if I find out that they have a wife, girlfriend, significant other or anything, that is one of the main topics that we talk about is, "Oh, hey, how's your wife? How's this person?" Because that tells them, "I know." So you're not going to try to, say, "Oh, she doesn't understand, but you do." And I feel like everywhere that I have worked in this field, I have had a man try to sleep with me. And that to me is really disheartening. It's like, I'm not here to be your plaything. I'm here to do a job. I'm here to be respected. And I don't I don't feel like, you even insinuating that that's okay is okay. It's frustrating to me. But that's not something that the men in our field have to face. They don't have to go to work and think, "Oh, is this chick," I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I feel like it's just more prevalent with, younger females where you come in, you're kind of young, dumb, and then you have this paramedic that's like, "Oh, I know, I have the power on the truck. I have, all of the say," and then they use that power and dominance over them to, try to get them to come to bed. And then that's
I always say you're like when you're a new girl in like a male dominated field, you're a small fish in a big like pond of sharks.
yes.
And like you said, you're so naive and you're so new and you think people are being friendly and you think people want to, help you and you do need the help. So you do want to form these relationships and stuff and you do want to learn. But it's so easy to be potentially taken advantage of. And
Yeah.
I'm thankful that you brought this up because I would say 99.9% of women have had an experience like this. And it's not every day that we talk about it because a lot of us are told to kind of keep it private or pretend like it didn't happen. But it's true. It does happen in the workforce. And I love that you're like, how's your wife? How's your girlfriend? Because we need more women like that. And I'm hope that they are, but some aren't. And, you know,
I
it
call
goes
those white
both
Barlovers.
sides. Yeah, it goes both sides. I mean, women aren't innocent either, like
Yeah.
we all, it's a toxic workplace environment in a lot of these first responding jobs. And it's, again, something that's kept under wraps a lot, that isn't talked about enough. And I appreciate you bringing that up. And you also were touching on being a female in a male dominated field. And you're like, even if I have to pick up a leg, I'm going to just pick up a leg, And you mentioned like pulling your weight as a female. You don't ever want to be looked less than by other people in the career field. And you have to know your limitations. And you have to be aware of who's flirting with you. And you have to, like, there's so much going on when you're in this job. You always have your radar on. And then you're also working this dangerous job, obviously. How do you balance all of that? For like my other women who are listening, how do you just balance it all?
Honestly, that's
Just focus on the job, focus on the calls, or just
focus on the job. And I mean, it honestly, it gets easier with experience. It's
does?
getting confident in your skills, as like myself as an EMS provider, having calls under your belt and becoming more confident in yourself and your skills, you will feel better, as a new EMT, like the ink is still wet on your license. You don't know what you're doing. This field is so different than any other field that you're looking to like your medic for guidance. And whenever that man is trying to like, you know, essentially prey on you, it's hard to tell him no. And whenever they're your superior. And so whenever you get confidence in yourself and your skills, you'll definitely be able to catch on more and you'll see the signs more and be like, hey, buddy, like that's not okay. You know, you have to have your boundaries. And, um, you know, I haven't ever really had problems with the guys that I've set boundaries with. I'm like, hey, this is not okay. Um, we're not, this isn't happening. I haven't really had any issues as far as like going to like the harassment side of things. Um, I would say just like cutting those things off as soon as possible to where like that's not a fire you're trying to put out later because you're trying to think of, you know, how am I going to brush this dude off? How am I going to, you know, oh, it's 3 a.m. I haven't gotten any sleep. Crap. What's the dosage for this medication that I'm supposed to give this patient? You know, you have a lot of things to focus on. It shouldn't be, you know, things that don't matter and don't come into effect whenever it comes to your patient care.
Right.
So,
right. No, I love that. Like cut it, you know, focus on what needs to be focused on and, you know, make sure your boundaries are set in stone as soon as you can. I love that. I think that's really important. I think as a strong woman in these fields, like that's something that we have to do. And using our voice is sometimes hard, but it's something that we have to do. So you talk openly about mental health in the workplace and how sometimes we don't receive the help that we need after things such as bad calls or bad experiences, seeing things that other normal people don't see on a daily basis. What do you do to help with your mental health so we can share it with our listeners?
I think it's really important to have hobbies. And like being a mother of 3 kids, that's really hard to have in the first place. Like as a mother,
Yeah.
like I feel like just as in motherhood, you just kind of lose yourself. You're like, crap. I like to draw. I like to do this. And you forget who you are as a person to where like I like to whenever I'm having trouble and I feel like, you know, something is stressing me out, I try to go back and like really look within and think, what is something that I like to do that I haven't done for a while? Like go touch grass, go on a hike, go, you know, do something you haven't done in a while that makes you happy. Get that dopamine release. Um, I mean, just try to make time for yourself is really important.
And that's why I said in the beginning, like being a first responder and being a mom, like I give you guys so much props. And it's just like find time to like do something for yourself is like sounds so easy, but it's so hard. And you have a wild schedule. And then I'm sure when you're off, you want to spend as much time as you can with your kids, but you also can't neglect yourself.
Yeah, that's when you start burning the candle at both ends, is whenever, is there for a while, I had the mom guilt of, oh, I've been working, you know, 48, you know, plus hours straight. And now I'm going to go home to the kids. And, I know, you know, my son's going to want to tell me all about Minecraft and I'm going to sit here and play games with him. I'm going to go play dolls with my daughter. You can't do that. That is not possible. It in a perfect world, we would be able to, go from giving patient care and being involved in people's worst days of their lives. And then, you can't expect yourself to just go and be okay with playing with your kids. Like, I feel like you have to acknowledge that there needs to be at least some you time. There needs to be a transition period because if to my kids, like I know I'm not going to be fully present if I don't give myself some me time. And so that kind of had to trump the mom guilt that I was feeling for, oh, I'm going to go get my nails done after work, decompress, whatever for a little bit, then I'll go be present. Because if you don't give yourself that time, you are just burning at both ends. And I mean, I feel like you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think the transition is important. Um, Giving yourself a minute before you dive right in from work and chaos to more chaos. Because at the end of the day, kids are chaos. Like, let's be real.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's a it's a lot. Do you have any advice for new females that want to start this career, or
Yeah.
anybody, not even just girls, anybody who's thinking of starting the medical field?
I would say definitely job shadow. Make sure that it's something that you are passionate about and that you want to do, because it's kind of like after you do it, there's no undoing it. Um, Especially specifically like EMS, like going into people's worst days. You can't undo things. Make sure that it's something that you would do for free. I would do this job for free because I love it. And it just you have to have a passion for it. So make sure that you have that before going into it.
And for your kids, what do you hope that they learn from you as being a first responder mom?
I hope that they just see I hope they see me as just a strong individual, someone that is able to, provide for them and be there for other people and still at the same time be there for them. Um, I just
Like you said earlier, you had a strong mom yourself, and that like really framed the way that you became in your life. So it's kind of like you're doing the same thing.
yeah, I hope so. I hope that I can, I don't know, live up to where my kids respect and see everything that I do for them the same way that us growing up we saw our mom.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So you do a lot of other things in your community. Like you model for like a first responder company, right?
Yes.
Or is it a
Yeah, it's called Firehouse Dolls.
Firehouse Dolls? I love it. Give them my number.
Mhm.
I'm just kidding. And you're a delegate for Miss Missouri.
Uh,
How do you hope to inspire young women to look up to you and all the things that you do?
I hope to, inspire young women as far as seeing um someone who is passionate about this work and who is able to make change in this profession. Like, I feel like being an example um, for those women and just showing that, you can do this. This is something, it's not just a man's field. We can do this too. You can wear your fake eyelashes. I don't care. Just get in there. Go to school, do what you want to do. Don't be afraid to do it, and just, a lot of facing those fears.
And I love that you're kind of like me in the sense that we can show other women that you could be feminine
Mhm.
and you could still be badass. Like you don't need to fit the mold. You can make your own. And I love that you do that. And I love that you are dedicated to your community. Like you're not only serving your community, helping your community, but you're doing other things within your community, like inspiring young women and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see where you go with all of that. Do you have anything coming up for any of those things?
Oh gosh. I
A lot?
actually, yeah, a lot. I'm going to New York for an expo at the end of January, with Firehouse Dolls. I'm excited about that. We went to Washington just in October, and that was an absolute blast for a photo shoot. Um, yeah, I have so much going on. It's just constant, but I would say except for medic school, because I would definitely be lying. I'm loving every minute of it. Except for medic
Funny
school.
you say that because that's my next question. So you are currently a medic student.
Yes.
Can you explain the process and how that works? And I was gonna say how you like it. I mean, school's not easy. So yeah, how did you like apply? Like tell us about the school in general.
So, before you can go to paramedic school, you have to be an EMT.
Okay.
There's not like a set amount of time that you have to be an EMT. I recommend that you're at least an EMT for like a year or so before you go to medic school, just because you don't want to start with a rocky foundation. You want to build that strong foundation so that you know what you're doing, because whenever you're a paramedic, I mean, you're in charge. You're on that truck, you're the one making the calls, you're the one in charge of the scene. And if you're still trying to figure out how to load a stretcher, or, all of the things that you should have learned as an EMT, if you kind of rush yourself through that, I feel like it's not impossible. And there are paramedics that are great paramedics that went straight through. We call it going from zero to hero. And there's the ones that go zero to hero and they're fantastic paramedics, but the ones that really make themselves a solid foundation, I feel are good at what they do, just to make sure you get the basics, because you've gotta learn the basics before you can go big.
So like medic school, like where is that? Like, is it at a college or where do you?
So you can go through a college and get an associate's degree, and actually get those college credits, or you can do it through like I'm doing it through a technical school because I already have a college degree, to where I'm just going for basically the coursework, and then I get to go do my final exam and get my license. But medic school is about, I would say average is like 18 months, and it's over 400 hours of clinical
Okay.
rotations.
Okay.
So
And what's the major difference between like being an EMT and being a paramedic?
more money, more problems.
Okay.
And
Because I'm like, is I don't know that I guess I don't know.
that so the paramedic will basically be like your higher level of care. There's BLS ambulances, which are your basic level of care. Those have at least one EMT. My goodness, I don't know. Sorry, there was a loud noise outside. Uh, there there's always one EMT on a BLS truck, and they're trained in basic life support. So they can intervene, they can do CPR. I'm not sure if this is across the board nationally, but in Missouri, like EMTs can drop supraglottic airways, to where we can, make sure people have a tube down their throat and they're breathing if they've gone into cardiac arrest. EMTs can't really do many medications. They can tourniquet off a wound if you're bleeding out. Um, as to where a paramedic would be the one that is doing the IV, drilling the IO. They're the ones doing the medical interventions that would be necessary. They're the ones reading the 12 lead EKGs. The EMT is the one putting the stickers on to perform the 12 lead, but the paramedic is interpreting. The EMT's role is still just as vital as the paramedic. A good EMT will make or break a truck. Honestly, it doesn't matter how good the medic is. Because the EMT is usually the one also facilitating, like getting patient from point A to point B. Like, say you have a patient down in a ditch, the EMT is like, okay, so I need a scoop stretcher, I need this, I need that, and helping the corresponding agencies. Say we have mutual aid on scene, and some firefighters, or someone needs direction. Usually, while the paramedic is focusing on the medicine, the EMT is over all other operations. So, I mean, they can really make or break a truck, and paramedics that treat their EMTs like crap are just wrong, in my opinion. They're there to help you. It's it's definitely a team effort whenever it comes to patient care. Um, but the paramedic would be the one, doing the guided intubation, doing all of those big interventions that you see on TV, basically.
Okay, you explained that really, really well, by the way. Because now I understand. But it sounds like you really do have to work hand in hand. And
Yeah.
would I be able to tell who's different? Or are they in the same? Like, do they have like a paramedic or EMT? Like, right? It's like,
Well, I mean, we have patches, like our uniform. We have patches, like mine says, like my patch says EMT on it, as to where like my medic, they have, a paramedic patch.
okay.
But I mean, we wear
Yeah.
the same uniform, we do
Right.
the same job, and we have the same goal at the end of the day.
Right.
And
Right. Absolutely.
I feel like a good paramedic is never going to they're never going to belittle an EMT or put them in their place, or their place, air quote. Um because it takes about 6 months to become an EMT, as opposed to the, almost 2 years that it takes to become a medic. There is a huge leap in responsibility, but a good medic will always value their EMT.
Yeah. That's good to know. Like, I feel like I just learned a lot because it's funny because I'm a police officer, and I see them almost every night, but I couldn't tell you the difference. So it's interesting to actually learn what the difference is.
Yeah.
So if someone visits your page or meets you, works with you, what do you hope that their takeaway is?
I hope that they're able to learn something from me and apply that to their patient care, whether that be just taking that extra minute to sit down and actually acknowledge that patient. Um, 'Cause I'm big on, there's a lot of scary things going on. Make sure that you acknowledge your patient. Um, I want people to know that, or take away that I care a lot about this job and, kind of look at, like, if anything, like, older medics, whenever they work with me, it's, oh, yeah, I remember whenever I had, I feel like we kind of like lose that spark every once in a while of, our passion for the job. And, if you go in every day and, you have a good outlook, even if it's, a bull crap call, like, oh, wow, this person's calling for toe pain again. Great. Why are they calling an ambulance for a hangnail? You know, as long as you make that patient feel like they are not an inconvenience. And you kind of remind people of like, oh yeah, I used to have that spark. I used to be that nice. But we definitely all lose it. I have my days where
Yeah.
I'm grumbly, but
Keeping the spark. I love it.
yes.
I love it. And what can we expect from you in the future? What goals, what future dreams do you have? I know you're in school, so you're going to be a paramedic
Yes.
soon. And what else?
I would hope to go on and get a master's degree. I really want to be a physician's assistant and work in the ICU.
Amazing.
Um, and I feel like a lot of providers that started out their career as a paramedic, they have a good understanding of, you know, the battles that, paramedics face and, thinking twice about sending this patient on a transfer whenever, they've had little sleep and, just having the decision-making skills that being a paramedic gives you. I hope to take that further into my career as, a higher level provider.
And if people are listening and they have more questions about this career field, are you open to like them messaging you and like you helping them? Okay, that's amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing. So if you want to tell us where people can find you if they're listening.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, find my name, Kaitlin Morell. Um, Usually like I know my Instagram profile, it says like Band-Aid Slinger. There's gonna be a bunch of stuff for, my whole Miss Missouri thing going on. You'll probably know it's me if you find it.
I'll tag you too. And I love that you're doing so much. And I love that you're embracing the feminine and being a mom and being a badass and doing school while working full time. Like you really are an example to other men and women out there, moms and dads and people who still want to chase their dreams. And I love your story and I can't wait to see where you go. And I really, really appreciate you being here because I know you have a lot going on. You're tired. I'm going to give you, I'm hopefully enough time to get a nap. I kept it at 45 minutes for you, girl, because
Well,
I got to do it for my moms. I got to, because I'm like, oh, you're probably exhausted. Oh my gosh. But is there any final takeaways you want to leave with our listeners? And then we're going to let you go.
I'd say just, do everything you can with passion that you started with and just take a moment to be kind to everybody you meet.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here and giving us your time. You're my first EMT on the show, so I'm so excited and I'm very thankful. And I hope that this will open doors for other women who are like you, like 100 pounds, modeling, like being like, I love it being girly, but like you can also get in there and get that grit and you can do it all. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.